To understand why K-pop performers feel so disciplined, you have to start at the very beginning, how they're trained. Most K-pop idols don't just wake up one day and become artists. They enter a system known as the trainee system, often at a very young age. Major entertainment companies like SM Entertainment, JYP Entertainment, YG Entertainment, and HYBE hold global auditions, recruiting talent from all over the world. But auditions aren't the only way trainees are found. Recruiters often scout potential idols in everyday places, schools, shopping centers, even subway stations, sometimes prioritizing visuals and overall potential over finished skill. In many cases, trainees are recruited as young as 11 to 16 years old. Instead of focusing purely on performance ability, agencies often look for long-term potential, someone they can train, shape, and develop over time. Once inside the system, trainees enter an extremely competitive environment. Not everyone who trains will debut. In fact, many don't. The competitive nature. The K-pop industry is built on competition, not just between artists, but between entire companies and fan bases. Groups compete on music shows, charts, awards, and even online engagement. And unlike in Western music, where most fans might not know which label an artist is signed to, K-pop fans are often deeply aware of the companies behind their favorite groups. That competition extends beyond the industry and into the fan base itself. As one academic paper described, fans often feel personally connected to their idol's success, almost as if it reflects their own identity. When a group wins, fans feel like they've won. And when a group is criticized, it can feel personal. Some people have even described K-pop as sports for music fans because of how intense and organized the competition becomes. This competitive structure creates an environment where the pressure to succeed is extremely high. Agencies invest years of training and significant resources into each trainee. And if a group doesn't succeed quickly after debut, they may face early disbandment. That level of investment raises the stakes for everyone involved: companies, artists, and fans. Some of this intensity may also reflect broader cultural influences. South Korea's education system is known for its competitiveness and emphasis on achievement, which can carry over into industries like entertainment. And all of this leads to one thing: an extremely disciplined approach to performance. Because by the time these artists debut, they've already spent years preparing for that moment. In K-pop, artists aren't just musicians. They're called idols. And that word matters. Idols are designed to be more than performers. They're trained to be multi-talented entertainers, singers, dancers, personalities, but also to represent an ideal. In many ways, they're meant to be seen as the perfect version of a person, someone fans can look up to, admire, and in some cases even emotionally attach themselves to. And while that creates a powerful connection between artists and fans, it also raises questions. Because when artists are expected to constantly present a perfect image, it can blur the line between performance and identity. And that pressure doesn't just exist in how idols are seen, it shows up in how they perform. One of the first things that stood out to me while watching K-pop performances was the choreography. It's not just dancing, it's precision. Entire songs are built around high-intensity movement, complex formations, and synchronization that has to be nearly perfect. There are very few moments of rest. Every section is designed to maintain visual impact. And that's not accidental. K-pop has evolved into a performance-driven genre where the visual experience is just as important as the music itself. What makes this even more impressive is the stamina required. These artists are singing, dancing, and performing at a high level, all at the same time, often for extended periods. That level of consistency doesn't come from talent alone. It comes from repetition, conditioning, and discipline. But that level of precision comes with a cost. Perfectionism is deeply embedded in the K-pop industry. Mistakes are heavily scrutinized, and idols are expected to constantly perform at their best, not just on stage, but in public, online, and in their personal image. Late artist Kim Jong-hyun spoke openly about this pressure, describing how idols are expected to always show their quote-unquote good side, which can lead to isolation and emotional strain. Others have shared similar experiences. DPR Ian has described the training system as extremely demanding, with schedules that leave little room for rest. And while the system produces incredible performers, it also raises important questions about mental health and sustainability. When you compare this to Western performances, the difference becomes clear. K-pop emphasizes synchronization, structure, and visual precision. Western artists, on the other hand, often lean more into individuality, raw vocals, improvisation, and direct interaction with the audience. It's not that one is better than the other, they're just built on different priorities. One is structured and refined, the other is expressive and flexible. But there's another layer to this conversation that's important to acknowledge. A large part of K-pop sound and performance style is influenced by Black American music and culture, especially hip-hop and R&B. That influence can be seen in everything from rap delivery to production styles to choreography, and historically this influence dates back to acts like Seo Taiji and Boys, who helped introduce hip-hop elements into Korean pop music. However, alongside that influence, there's also been ongoing conversations about cultural appropriation. There have been multiple incidents over the years, from the use of black hairstyles and fashion to the use of language and stereotypes, that have been criticized by fans and observers. These moments raise an important question. Where is the line between appreciation and appropriation? And are the original cultures being properly acknowledged? K-pop is a global genre, and like all global music, it borrows from many influences. But because so much of its foundation comes from Black American artistry, this conversation continues to be relevant. So when you combine all of this, the training system, the performance, discipline, and the cultural influences, you start to understand what makes this industry so unique. One of the biggest things I realized studying K-pop is that discipline often matters more than raw talent. The system is built on the idea that skill can be developed over time, through repetition, structure, and consistency. Many companies don't just look for the most talented trainees, they look for potential, people who can be trained and improved. And because of that, discipline becomes the foundation. It's what allows artists to execute complex performances night after night at a high level. At the same time, that system is unforgiving. Many trainees spend years preparing, only to never debut. Others come extremely close, but are ultimately cut before reaching the final stage. It's a system where effort doesn't always guarantee success, and that reality shapes the mindset of the artist within it. For me, studying K-pop completely changed how I look at performance. I started to realize that great performance isn't just about talent, it's about preparation. It's about discipline. It's about repetition to the point where execution becomes second nature. And it made me respect the level of work behind what looks effortless on stage. I also realized something else. K-pop isn't just music, it's an experience. The visuals, the performance, the identity, it all comes together to create something immersive. And that's something a lot of artists, including myself, can learn from. Why it works. At its core, the K-pop system works because it's structured. It's consistent and it's built around long-term development. In many ways, it functions more like a sports academy than a traditional music industry. And that's why it produces performers at such a high level. Western artists often take a different path. There's more focus on individuality, personal storytelling, and creative freedom. Less structure, but more autonomy. And that comes with its own strengths and weaknesses. Here's my balanced critique. But the K-pop system isn't perfect. There are real concerns, from overworking artists to limiting creative freedom to the pressures of maintaining a perfect image. And as we talked about earlier, there are ongoing conversations about cultural influence and appropriation. Final takeaway. At the end of the day, K-pop shows what's possible when discipline is taken to the highest level. But it also raises an important question. How much structure is too much? Because while discipline can create excellence, it can also come at a cost. And finding that balance between discipline and freedom might be the most important lesson of all.